Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means that it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And I'm feeling really glad to be able to be here. I missed all the broadcasts last weekend through different reasons. Number one, the ones on Friday I cancelled so everybody could get the sleep that they needed to be able to watch the Coronation, that once in a lifetime event. And we're going to talk a bit about that. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you. Um, and then on Sunday, I unfortunately got a really nasty stomach bug. And the good news is I lost 5 pounds. But the bad news was it was not fun. And I can assure you there was no way I was going to be able to do a broadcast. So my apologies for that. But we missed out on a whole week. And what I wanted to say is that, hi, Jax, good to see you, and Jody. And for those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. And Kimmy as well. All right, Kimmy was here earlier. There she is. Okay, yeah. Um, so first of all, we missed out on a lot of birthdays. So first of all, happy birthday, a happy anniversary to Bernice on the 6th. To the Fluffball Taylor had a birthday on the turned 4 on the 8th, I believe. Manon had a birthday on the 9th, which I clean missed as well. And Jeannie's daughter, I believe, also had a birthday on the 9th. So my apologies to all of you for missing those, but it was just like, what can I say? And if we missed any others, please let me know. Means that we haven't got them on the database for some reason, if you're a regular viewer or not. Well, we're going to have some bit of fun today. First of all, though, I'd like to have thoughts and prayers for Sharon's family. Sharon's daddy was put into hospice, or is getting hospice care, should I say, starting a couple of days ago. And, that's going to be very traumatic for everybody in the family. And so we pray that they will, all have the strength to be able to cope with that. Okay. So I wanted to actually start today by talking about the coronation, because that was a once in a lifetime event that we didn't get a chance to talk about. And the funniest thing happened. Lionel, Jodie's husband, called it Big Hat Day. And I don't know about you, that really appealed to me until I thought, you know something? It's more than Big Hat Day, it's Heavy Hat Day. So in future, I will be able to say that, I've attended 2 Heavy Hat Days. Jackie's asking, do I have a pet dog? I have not got one at the moment, but I've had dogs all my life, except for this particular stage of my life. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the cost of it all. And because I know that a lot of you are interested in that sort of, stuff. And as far as I know, the total cost of running the monarchy generally is about, they reckon about 108 million, all right, per year for the British taxpayer. And that's about $1.61 for every member of the British public. But the interesting thing is that back in 2017, and that was the only year I could find, the monarchy itself generated 1.766 billion pounds sterling for the UK economy. So do you understand, even though the coronation was very expensive, what it would have brought in income to the country would far outweigh the costs of it. And the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was, first of all, I hope some of you got to see it. And how many of you did actually watch it? I know that Jody did, because she and I watched it together. The coronation of King Charles III, Jackie. So the first thing that I found really interesting was that the crown that he was coronated with, if you like, weighed 6 pounds. All right. And what I thought I'd do is I'd show you what that looks like. This is about a three quarters of a bag of sugar, and this weighs 6 pounds. All right. So the crown weighed a little bit, 1 pound less than this, but I thought I'd show you that 6 pounds, although it is heavy, all right. I don't know if I can balance it on my freshly washed hair. Probably not. Okay. But it although it's heavy, it is very doable, especially if you have good posture, which of course the royals do. In other words, you have to walk straight. Jodie's saying it was wonderful to be able to watch the coronation with you. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it together as well. Now, so do you understand? Although it's the heaviest of the crowns, it is very doable, but you wouldn't want to be wearing it all day. The next thing is, I found it really interesting that we've now set the precedent. Now that Camilla was crowned queen and not queen consort, it sets a precedent, which means that when Catherine, or rather when William ascends to the throne, Catherine has now a precedent to be crowned queen with him rather than queen consort. So that's, I thought, was quite interesting. The coronation cost, just so you know, they reckon it came in at 125 million. That's pretty cheap. I know you're saying no, it isn't, but actually, you know, for a coronation, it's pretty cheap. So when you think that, you know, what the royal family brings in is in the 43 billion range, all right, you know, it's actually was quite not that bad, really. Yeah. So let me tell you. So, well, I found some interesting facts around this. I don't know about you guys, but I love these sort of facts. It said the UK Beer and Pub Association alone, all right, just the beer people, right, expected to pour 62 million pints of beer over that coronation weekend, and that would be 16 million more than usual. And that meant that it would boost 71 million pounds sterling to the UK economy. You know, it's just like, yikes. That's, you know, just in beer alone, just paid half the price. Is that right? Yeah. Think about that. But just the amount of beer that that was sold paid half the price of the coronation. I think that's pretty interesting to me. So, what were your favorite moments for those of you who did get to see the coronation? Okay, hugs to you, Jax. Thanks for being here. How's your doggy? Before you go, how's your doggy doing? So what was your favorite moment, and you know, or what moments, you know, will you carry with you? I know Jackie J is saying my favorite part of the ceremony was when it ended. It was pretty stressful, wasn't it? You know, I didn't feel it was a very relaxed thing. I started off, one of my favorite moments, because I study body language, was to see how upset the king was when he arrived. And then I saw the equerry, that's the guy, you know, that looks after the king. He's like a private secretary to the king, get into the carriage and talk to him as soon as the carriage arrived at the abbey, and you could tell there was a very tense conversation going on just by, you know, the body language that was going on, and I couldn't work out what he was so upset about. But it turned out the reason he was so upset was because William, Catherine, and the children were not there yet. They were meant to arrive before him, and they didn't, and he was very upset, to put it mildly. And so what they did is they kept him in the coach for as long as they could, but then eventually the show had to go on. So that's thanks, Shex, for the update. All right, I appreciate that. All right. So that really was interesting to me. That and why were they late? I would like to say that the reason was probably because of a 5-year-old having a temper tantrum, but I could be wrong. I, I, I haven't seen an official reason for why they were late, but I'm pretty sure it was children related. So I wondered whether, for those of you who saw it, Jodie's mentioning Camilla was fidgeting a lot. And I guess I would have too. She really fidgeted a lot, especially when the crown went on, because her hair wasn't in the right place. So, that makes you one, and it was like the hair, she was trying to get the hair out of her eyes, I think. Because when they put it down, they pushed the hair sort of like into her eyes, and she was trying to remove it. Yeah, she was very uncomfortable with that, but I thought, she held it together pretty well, considering. How did you feel about Harry getting the third row placement, even though he, his royal birth, um, I thought he would have been second row. I didn't expect him to be third row, I must admit. So that's one of those things, but he pays the price. Yeah, interesting. Jodie wasn't happy where Harry was sitting either. No, it was that was pretty obvious. How did you feel about Prince William kissing his daddy? And I thought that was really cute. Although King Charles didn't seem to react very much to that, but I thought it was such a cute moment. And there's no doubt in my mind that William loves his daddy very dearly, and literally that is the most important oath of allegiance that you can have, is obviously from your son, who's going to be taking over from you. Did any of you wonder about the ritual of the screens? I have been fortunate enough to watch 2 coronations in my lifetime. The first one being when Her Majesty the Queen was her coronation back in the 50s. And then, I watched, obviously, King Charles, his coronation. And so I remember at Queen Elizabeth's coronation, they had an awning that they dropped down. And, it was like a canopy that was held on 4 corners. And they just dropped it down to shield her for that anointment ceremony. So that's the reason that they put the screens around him. There is the most sacred part of the coronation is the anointment, where they take the oil and they anoint his head, or her head, and her chest. And there's one other place, I can't remember where it is, but anyway, there are 3 places that they get anointed, and it is considered to be the most sacred part of the ceremony. And so what they do is they want to make sure that that is between the monarch and their god. And so, as I said, in Queen Elizabeth's coronation, they had a canopy and they just sort of tilted it over. And then for King Charles, they brought the screens around. So in case you wondered why that was going on, I wondered how many of you noticed that he swapped crowns. All right. Hi, Rachel. They swapped crowns. Rachel's asking me, how old am I? I'm 75. How old are you, Rachel? Anyway, they swapped crowns. I don't know if you noticed that the actual ceremony, he wore what they call the St. Edward crown, which is gold. And then when he left the abbey, he wore the Imperial crown, which is the one that Queen Elizabeth wore a lot for opening Parliament and doing things like that. It's a very pretty one, and it was the one that matched, if you like. I mean, the crown that Queen Camilla was wearing matched it. Oh, it was the hands. Thank you. Jodie, of course, been doing the admin job that she does so well. She's reminding me that the Archbishop pours holy oil from the ampulla onto a spoon and anoints the sovereign's hands, breasts, and head. And that is that is a very private moment in the coronation, right? So yeah, so what happened was he changed crowns to leave the abbey. And I don't know about you, but one of the most frightening moments for me was to watch them trying to get into that much smaller gold carriage. It wasn't built for people the size of today's human beings. It was built back in the 1800s, no, way back, hang on, 1600s. Jodie, could you check when was the royal coach built? Either is it the 1600s that they built it? It may be. Anyway, that's a very, people were much smaller then, right? They were shorter and they were not as broad. And so you could see the difference between the two coaches, the one he arrived in and the one he went back to Buckingham Palace. And I don't know about you, but it was, to me, to try and get into a coach wearing a crown, right? Where you've got to keep that center of balance in the right place. And so it was just like amazing to me. It was just like, if you lean too far forward, the crown's going to fall off. And if you don't lean forward enough, you're going to hit the very low entrance to the carriage. So to me, it was just like, so scary. But they both managed to do it pretty well. And I I sort of checked to see why did he change the crowns, and it was thank you, Jodie. That gold coach was built in 1762, and it's been used in every coronation since the 1800s. I knew the 1800s came in there somewhere. Yeah, thanks, Jodie. I appreciate that. So here's the thing. The reason that he changed crowns is because that second one weighs half the weight of the first one. All right, so you're going to have a real heavy hat day. You don't want to be wearing the St. Andrew's crown, and it obviously is. It's a pretty expensive one. It's made of gold and silver and platinum, and it was this is now the second one. It was decorated with over. Let me have a look here. Right, so this is the Imperial Crown, right? The frame is made of gold, silver, and platinum, and is decorated with 2,868 diamonds. Can you imagine? 273 pearls, 17 sapphires, and 11 emeralds and 5 rubies. That's quite a bit. And the one that Charles wore originally was valued at about 57 million. All right. And it was made for Charles II's coronation in 1661. That's where the 1600s came in. Hi there, Sabrina. Good to see you. And the Imperial Crown, funny enough, actually is more valuable. And they say that the Imperial Crown is said to be worth 6.2 billion. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it? The crown that Queen Camilla wore is worth, a mere 400 million by comparison. So, and that was repurposed, I think. So it was quite an event. I'm I don't know about the rest of you, but it was just like, I hope that those of you that made the effort to watch it understood the significance in terms of history. As I said, I feel somewhat honored to have been alive to watch two of those. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are going to witness two of them because the chances are you're young enough to be around when um, Prince William ascends to the throne. So that will be, and you will. I'm certain you'll feel the same way about it. It's a bit of history, whether you believe in the monarchy or not. It's about history, and there's certain events in the world, whether it's a moon landing, uh, where were you when, and it's really an important thing to watch history go down. So that was my Saturday. And by Sunday, I literally woke up on, well, hang on, so the coronation was Friday night, right? Or early Saturday morning. And then for some reason, something I had on Saturday caused stomach flu. And I think it might have been either a feta cheese or tomato, because what I had just before it was caprese salad that I made from my own ingredients here. And I want to tell you that that was definitely not much fun. And I can't remember when the last time was that I had that sort of problem. Uh, you know, I don't recommend upchucking at any time, but boy, it's just like, when did I last do this? I'm pleased to tell you it was a long time ago, but boy, uh, it was, I was really quite sick. Yeah, Jody's saying you were so sick. But and it was, of course, I didn't have any Pepto-Bismol in the house because of the fire, and I had not replaced that for some reason. But now I have. And so it was really, really not fun. So the good news was it didn't last more than about 12 hours, I think. I managed, but it took another 24 for me to feel safe to eat. And, I'm certain you all know that. Of course, I have to keep remembering that poor Jody is dealing with that almost on a daily basis. So, Jody, you continue to be a great inspiration to me, that you deal with this stuff all the time without complaining about it. And, it's just amazing. But I was pretty tired between the two. And as I said, I managed to drop quite a bit of weight overnight, but I put that back on again. But, it was just like, it is what it is. And I'm a great believer that how can I word that? I always take days when I'm poleaxed like that as days to reflect, all right, and think, what am I sick and tired of? And when it's a case of I was uh, that nauseated, what is it I want to throw out in my life that I'm throwing up, And so I find those very philosophical moments for me. Then Wednesday was very difficult for me. Tuesday, Wednesday, in there somewhere. But let's just say it all happened on Wednesday. Number one, I heard that my camping trip next week had been dropped down from 2 days to one. And, I was so bitterly disappointed. I've been looking forward to that trip for years, because it's been promised for years. So I've been looking forward to it for years. And then suddenly I heard it wasn't going to be 2 nights. It was only going to be an overnight. And there was that part of me that was really angry about that. It was like, how can you do that? So I wrote back and said, what was more important than the other night? Because obviously something had come up that was more important than I was. And, it was interesting because I got the reply back that it wasn't more important. And I said, yes, it was, because you canceled a day. Therefore, it must be more important. Do you understand my thinking? It must be more important. That's why you canceled it. And it was just like, it took me a good night of thinking to actually get my mind straight. And how I did it was I reminded myself that I was feeling, feelings being the operative thing, I was feeling angry. And we know that feelings are within our control. All right. Feelings are an internal thing. They're within our control. They're not an external thing. Now, and I did it to myself, right? The feeling I got was because of the way I processed losing a day. And therefore, I needed to deconstruct that. Does that make sense to everybody? I needed to think about that and go, okay, you are disappointed because you lost a day. But, and I got quite snippy, by the way. I actually wrote back and said, well, maybe, we don't go at all. And then I went, this is ridiculous, all right? Because that is a very good friend of mine that's willing to take me camping overnight. And one day with her is better than no days with her. So by the next morning, I wrote to her and said, I'm really sorry. Let's do the one day night. But I needed to understand what's going on. By the way, I will discuss how disappointed I was, and I think she already knows. But then the reason came in, and the reason didn't make sense, and I won't go into that. But I understood why she was trying to give me a reason on both ends of the story. So it was just like, it was a really sad time, and I will, talk it out because I need to. It was like, I'm sorry I reacted that way, but hey, I've been looking forward to this for years. And that was pretty interesting. I had another thing on Wednesday. We said goodbye to a neighbor who had lived here for 30 something years. And, we had one of the sort of like mini block party to say goodbye to him. And it was interesting to see everybody get together. But what I realized was I was probably one of the few that wasn't drinking. And that makes a difference. And I noticed how people judge you if you're not drinking. And it was fine. Feel free to judge me. It was blistering hot, and I was quite happy with a cool drink. Thank you, a soda. But, it was, I found it very interesting to sit and witness that. And then one of the other neighbors came, and I have, over the winter, written to her a couple of times and not received a response, but I haven't seen her. So when I saw her, I, let her sort of do the social thing and everything else. And once she was sitting down and settled, I went to see her, and I said, after I did the pleasantries, I said, I just wanted to check something out with you. And she said, what's that? And I said, well, I wrote you a couple of times over the winter, and both times you ignored me. So I just want to know, because I'm a pretty straight person, did I do something to offend you that I need to know about? And she looked at me and she said, no, Sal, my mommy died. I said, well, that would make a lot of sense. I said, and I want to say how sorry I am that I didn't know that. And then I, forgave myself, because how could I know that if nobody told me? But, I wondered how many of you would ask that question, or would you just ignore her because she ignored you? And I just, made sure she knew that I really did not know that her mommy had died. And I gave her a big hug. I felt so sorry for her. So the important thing was for me to process all of this stuff that was going on around me. And it was, it was a big week of process. So luckily, by Thursday, yesterday, I had got myself together enough. Actually, I lie. I started to work on this on Wednesday. I started getting my mind right. Anyway, the main thing was I went to go and do some shopping. And what I also did was I picked up some flowers because you know me, what if I am a flower person. Flowers make me happy. So I picked up a couple of flats of pansies because they look so pretty. And I got some yellow ones and some purple ones because my house is yellow, and so they complement the house really beautifully. And what I decided was that I would grow them in my window boxes rather than out in my tubs. And because I want to have summer flowers for my tubs. But I had some fun, and when I open my front door now, I'm facing pansies, and it looks really pretty. I'm very happy with that. So I did quite a bit um, to look after myself. All right, which is number one. I did the processing correctly, and I apologized. And oh, interesting. Jody's saying that pansies were her daddy's favorite flower. Yes. Then actually, I must admit, peonies and roses are my favorites, and they obviously will be flowering sometime towards the fall with the weather, because we had such a late start to spring. I want to tell you, we are due to get summer temperatures this weekend, just so you know. I don't know what it's like where you are, but we've got a high heat warning already in May. A heat advisory came out. So we just basically didn't have spring. We went from winter to the start of summer. The other thing I did this week, Kimmy's saying that in Wyoming they still got snow and some rain, and it's cold. Wow, that's amazing. Really? And we've got high heat warnings in Canada. Yeah, Jody's saying it's already been up to 80 Fahrenheit or 26 centigrade in New Hampshire. Really interesting stuff. So one of the things that I've been doing to change my mood is to ask myself the question, as I go around by the way, you can probably imagine all this going on. I've always said that if you want to know where my mind's at, see the state of my house. And when I got sick and everything else that was going on, plus remember I'd had the week of Yvonne's daddy's celebration of life and interment. So between all those things going on and the coronation and my house looked like a bomb had hit it. And so the most important thing for me was to get my house back in order, literally. How many of you can smiling, because it's like it is literally what I needed to do was get my house back in order. And I didn't, it was so overwhelming. I didn't think I'd be able to. It was just like, I don't know if I can do this. So what I did is I literally, all the time yesterday, I kept saying to myself, I would be happier if, now, number one, obviously my kitchen needs to get tidy because of the broadcast. But I knew that would happen, right? I knew if nothing else got tidied, the kitchen would be tidied because of the broadcast. And so what I did was I started in the bathroom, and I said I'd be happier with the bathroom if, the first time I went to the washroom, and I tidied up something. And then I stood in the bedroom and said I would be happier with my bedroom if. And then that told me what I needed to tidy up. And literally, I went through in these rotations that I do, but each time I stood in the room, and it included the kitchen. And it was just like, what do I need to do so that I will be happier? Now, you'll probably see I've got a saucepan out. and you probably can't see it. Oh, there you are. And that is a boil water advisory. Another thing that happened this week. Actually, I think we started it last week. One of the main water pipes in the community in which I live cracked. And so they put a new water pipe in, but we're still under a boil water advisory. And I'm not sure why, but you can imagine that means that you cannot drink the water directly, nor should you brush your teeth in it, nor should you cook with it without boiling it first, right? So luckily, I have every night I put on a full, big thing of water to boil it, and then I fill up I've got a zero water filter thing that takes about 5 liters, I would think. So I make sure that's topped up every day, and then I've got extra in there for anything I might need. So it was just like, wow. And then I'm sort of at a point where this week has been so full already. It's just like, but then tomorrow, Yvonne and Wade are coming, and we will do the measurement of my arm again. I have to do that every month to make sure I'm not getting lymphedema. And there was some concern when I spoke to the physio that it may be starting, and I don't think it is, but we'll keep track of it. And then we've got Mother's Day on Sunday, and of course Dougie phoned and asked if he could take me out to lunch, but we decided we'd do it on Monday, so I've got quite a busy weekend now. And that is literally the week that I've had. It's been quite amazing to me. And how's your week been? And what happened in your week that made you react in any way? And what happened in your week that brought up feelings for you? And can you see that when I got that strong emotional reaction, and I thought maybe we could deconstruct that in a way, because I'm certain you've all been through that reaction where you are so disappointed that you just don't want to do it at all. And it really took a lot of thinking on my part to get my mind away from that childish thought, which is what I think it was, into a more adult thought, which was, hey, you know this person pretty well, and you know that they would not have wanted to cancel this easily. It's not something that they would have done easily. All right, Jodie's saying her neurosurgeon had to cancel her appointment for the 4th time. And I understand, but I'm still a little frustrated. Yes. Jodie, a good example, all right, where this is a neurosurgeon. You've been waiting for this appointment a long time. And this affects your quality of life, all right? That's the reason you have to go. So, can we talk about that? Do you feel like, what am I, chopped liver? That you can just keep canceling me? And I get it, all right? And so I wonder, what it's going to take. Maybe that's the question, right? What is it going to take to get an appointment and you're not the one that they cancel? And I would, part of me goes, I think from this point onwards, I would start putting my feet in a bit heavily. All right, she's been having emergency surgeries that have warranted the cancellation. Yeah, but why is it always you? That's my question. Because, logic tells me, Jody, forgive me on this one. Logic tells me the cancellations are not always on the day. Oh, she's only in your town 1 day a week. Okay, that makes a difference. Yeah. All right, so that does make a difference. Therefore, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody in the town. Hmm. So where does she hang out when she's not in your town? Okay, how far away is that other area? Because what I'm thinking, Jody, is that, you know, uh, yeah, I know transportation is an issue for you, but is it worth saying, hey, in order to get this appointment, I am willing to come to wherever she is if that will help me get an appointment more quickly? Are you, or can I get on a cancellation list? Um, because to me, getting this appointment to you is so important. However, what I do know is in the meantime, all the work that you've been doing, Jody, you are starting to get much more movement. Okay, so you are already on the cancellation list as well. That's good to hear. All right. So, and that sounds like you've got a better chance. So Jody was telling me, it's okay to share, I hope, Jody. Um, yeah, she's saying she's been making progress. Jody, for those of you who don't know, had something called drop foot, where one day she got up and the one foot moved and the other one didn't. It just literally was hanging and she couldn't get it to walk. And this happened back in October, as far as I remember. And she's been doing various exercises to try and get the brain to reconnect to the foot. And it must be so fascinating, Jody, to watch those connections start up and to realize just how much goes on between the moment you think it and when the muscles react to it. Normally, when we do it unconsciously. And now you are having to train your brain to move that foot. I literally tried to imagine what that must be like and the patience it must take. And what do you think has helped? I know that you managed to walk all the way to the washroom and back without your walker. And that is, I know it must have been very slow and very frustrating, but I'd love to know. Oh, listen to this. Jody's saying it's bizarre. I feel a zapping sensation when the connection is made. Jody, I relate. Why? After they took off my boob, every now and then I get that zapping sensation as more connections are rebuilt. So I totally know what that feels like. In fact, I'm really delighted because now that means that you also know what mine feels like. And, um, it's just like, it's amazing, isn't it? And I actually discussed it with my physiotherapist when I was there talking to her. Um, and I said every now and then I get this sort of like an electrical zap feeling. And I said, I just presume it is nerve connections reestablishing themselves. And she said, that's good that you know that. And I said, yeah, well, the first time it happened, I was a bit scared. But then I realized, wait a minute, that's what it is. It's the nerves reconnecting. And she said, that not many people would realize that. And I said, well, I chose to see it as that. but now you've confirmed it. I feel a lot better. And it is, I try to imagine, Jody, because you know me and I'm curious, so that every now and then I will purposely not use my one foot to see how many things I have to think about to be able to, to literally think about it and go, how do I move this foot if it doesn't lift? And you end up just sort of dragging it, right? and and I'm going, boy, that must have taken so much mental acuity to be able to get that to work. So I know that you also did the elliptical. You have a mini elliptical, and that one forces your foot to work, right? It actually is electrical, and it isn't just manual. It's one that you can make it work. So I am certain that must have helped, to get the circulation going, to get the everything wanting to work. Yeah, I really believe that. The same thing, Jody, as I know that when I get on the mini bike, it is amazing to me how much better I feel. And that was one of the other ways I changed my mood, of course, which I did a lot of work on my mini bike. And I was so sick on Monday. I was so sick Sunday. I think I did. Where's my phone? I don't let me. Just so that you know, it's a pretty good test of where my new test is. I know how sick I am by how many steps I did. Um, a second. Yeah, on Sunday, my total steps for the day were under 1,000. So, and most of those were going to and fro the bathroom. And then on Monday, I still only did 2,500. So that tells you that was my recovery day where I was scared to eat. But Jody, I really want to compliment you on what you have done to make that foot work. And the fact that you can now put weight on it, not only move it, but put weight on it, must be so exciting. Now, I'm certain you're not, nicknamed Speedy Gonzales or anything, but, it's just like, it is really interesting to me that you have done the work and that it has paid off. So the chances are, by the time you get to see the neurologist, you will have fixed your own problem. Just about. Although it'll be important to see what caused it, if they can work that out for you, of course. Yeah. So, Kimmy, how are things in your neck of the woods in Wyoming? I wanted to have a little discussion between us, those of us who are in the room, about how concerned are you with the incoming of this artificial intelligence that means that we won't know what news to trust and not trust anymore. Yeah, Jodie's just confirming that. She said, yeah, she's hoping she won't need the surgeon by the time she has the appointment. Yeah, that's, great motivation, right? Oh, it's okay, I've got it working it again. You don't need to do anything. Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm finding it quite frightening. We've got another, those of you in the States have got another election cycle coming up. And now we've got this artificial intelligence where, what do you trust now? Because now we won't know whether what we're watching is actually the person and whether they said it or not. And, it won't be the same. And then the next thing is, what really worries me is that what about the artificial intelligence putting words into my mouth or your mouth and putting it on YouTube? And for example, it could happen and I could get banned. You understand what I'm saying? That, it's like I haven't really thought that one through. How do I prove I didn't say it? That's going to be the very difficult thing. And yeah, it's a very loaded issue. Like I've been trying to work this one out. So I know that you guys also are interested in things like that. So, well, how do you plan? Let me ask you that one first. How do you plan if you live in the States? How do you plan to check that what you're watching is real as opposed to artificially created? And here's my question: how many people are going to take the time to do that? In your view, how many people in the area where you live, Kimmy, I'm thinking about, the area where you live, where I know that they're very politically minded in the opposite direction to yours. How many of them will just buy anything that's put in front of them? Find the fact checkers. Yes. You see, Kimmy, that puts you way ahead of the game in terms of emotional intelligence, right? Is that you will not, you know, it's an old story, right? If you're looking at it and you're going, I can't believe that they said that, then the chances are that you may want to check the facts. However, having said that, I watched a town hall. I watched a town hall thing with ex-president this week, where he had just come out of that court case and had $5 million ruled against him for defamation, and then immediately said on live television that he doesn't know the person, and now that's defamation again. That's saying she lied because he doesn't know her. That infers that she lied, and she just took him to court on that issue and won. And so now she's thinking about taking him back to court to win, for a second time. This is called, how on earth could he do that? It's just like, yeah. Kim is saying that the majority will fall for it. Yes. So, but Kimmy, you understand it will be up to us now to watch twice as carefully. The things that we didn't believe before and checked, now we've got to be really careful on both sides. All right. Not only what your side says, but also what other people say as well. And so as this technology is truly scary to me, truly scary. And I think it will have horrific impact any minute now on things like YouTube, because if you've got the technology and it becomes more and more freely available, we know the sort of people that will get amused by that will be the same sort of people who like hacking and stuff like that, all right? It's like a mentality. And I don't know if any of you saw, but I definitely saw that, where they actually, on America's Got Talent, they brought it in and they did a whole segment with where supposedly Simon Cowell was singing and doing things, and they did it all through this artificial intelligence, which was an entertaining way of using the technology. But I'm looking at it and going, yeah, that was really funny, because it really did look like Simon Cowell was singing. But if it's that good, and it is, and it's freely available, which it's going to be and already is, then how on earth will we know what anybody said, and how will we know it's true or not? I guess, and in a lot of cases, we will need that, I'm thinking about, we will need that rider, and I endorse this message. But the truth is, even that can be faked. So I don't know. How do you know it to be true? Or do we need to trust certain sources enough to know that they will be checking it for us? Now, Jodie's suggesting that one of the ways we do it, and the same as Kimmy said, find the fact checkers, right? You're going to need to listen to people who do a lot of fact checking. And I'm certain if I'm this concerned about it, pretty certain the BBC and reputable news organizations will also be very hot on this issue, because they're going to be liable if they're telling lies any minute now, if they haven't done their due diligence to find out whether this is true or not. So to me, it's going to be, we may need to say, we cannot afford to listen to just one news station anymore. We will need to listen to some. But when we do that, I mean, hopefully you do that anyway, but when you do that, you will also need to be really careful about what you're listening to, because you're going to pray that they've all done their due diligence and that what they're reporting is true. Big scary stuff. Did any of you see in the news yesterday, I think it was yesterday, about the Russian soldier who actually surrendered to a drone? Did any of you see that footage? It was absolutely amazing that that a Ukrainian drone went in, and it was, fighting off some Russians. And one of the Russians, by body language, said, sort of like, please don't kill me, all right, to a drone. Why? He was smart enough to know somebody is at the other end of that drone. A human being is at the other end of that drone. And he did it a number of times where he was going, I'm Russian, but please don't kill me. And, and you could see the drone go, I got it. And then the drone dropped a couple of bits of paper, obviously weighted, and they were instructions on how to surrender. And then also the instructions on what the drone would do and what it meant. And if the drone went like this, sort of boom, 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 it meant follow me. And obviously it tipped forward if it was agreeing with you, or it would go like this if it didn't agree, or it was just amazing to watch. And they literally led this Russian soldier through the foxholes to the Ukrainian foxhole. But the Russians realized what he was doing, and they started to shoot at him, not with guns. They sent missiles after him to try and take him out. Now, luckily, they missed. But at least 3 different missiles, when I say missiles, but they didn't fire guns, they were firing tanks or whatever at him. And he managed to get from the one set of foxholes that were Russian to the Ukrainian ones whilst being fired upon by his own people. And apparently the instructions that are dropped are said to the Russian, we will let you surrender and you will have a choice. We will either swap you back to Russia for a Ukrainian swap, or, if that's what you want, or we will keep you in jail until the war is over. And after that, we will allow you to choose where you want to live. Whether you want to stay living, in civilization, or go back to Russia. I thought that was how incredibly humane that was. In other words, we're not going to throw you in jail or in a concentration camp or whatever they call it, for the rest of your life. what we're going to do is we just need to put you there until the war is over, but then you get to choose. How humane is that, right? And you can imagine that's not what's happening the other way around. And I just thought, there are times when this technology just blows my mind. Who ever thought, when we first saw those drones come out, all right, and they were entertainment, remember? When we first saw those drones come out, and, the idea that they probably were originally developed for military purposes. Huh. Amazing. And then you go, and now we have drones that can, mimic body language enough, because the operator is doing all the right things, um, uh, to to be able to have people surrender to a drone. I mean, blew me away. And I keep saying to people, for all these parents who are saying, my son or daughter is absolutely wasting their time, on playing video games and stuff, where they're learning, how to manipulate things. And, you understand that this is where we are going. The people who are capable of that sort of mental dexterity to be able to do those things will be vital in the military. All right, because we will, I believe, more and more depend on artificial intelligence to fight wars rather than people. And I just, to me, it was just like, wow. I am, it's like I had never seen that happen before. Apparently, it happened once before in the spring. No, in the summer last year. It happened again. But now, what they need to do, obviously, is to make sure that the Russian soldiers. Now, I think most of these soldiers are part of the Wagner Group. Do you know all about that? I don't know if you guys are aware that they actually have got these not resistance, what do you call them? A private militia, if you like, called the Wagner Group, are supplying a lot of the troops for Russia. And I believe this guy might have been part of them. But we've now got a situation where the top guy for the Wagner Group is publicly saying that he doesn't have enough ammunition to fight this war. And he's saying that in public. What amazes me, he's still alive. Oh, sorry, Jody's saying a learning moment. Which one, Jody? So, the reason I'm talking about this complete across the board thing, you don't know about the Wagner Group. You want to do a bit of research on that. Because it was interesting before, but it's more interesting now because the top general for them is literally going on social media and calling out for arms. And he's, basically, if the top brass is not listening to his demands internally, he's now doing it on social media, saying, if you don't give me more weapons, I'm taking my people and going, because otherwise you are just putting us all up to be murdered if you can't give us the right ammunition. So there's a lot going on at the moment down there, that's for sure. So to me, this has been such an amazing week of feelings, and yet it has been a very peaceful week as well. It's I think I've done a lot of the right things this week. And well, Jody, I know that, some of you do follow those sort of things and you like to hear about them. I know that if I find it that fascinating, the chances are that those of you who are regular viewers, will find it equally fascinating, because what interests me obviously interests you as well. That's the connection. So that's why I talk about it. I try and make notes and I go, yeah, I really need to just chat about this, because it just blew my mind. Now, the other thing I wanted to give you a heads up on is that and I will talk about it this evening. But this evening, I'm going to talk a bit about makeup, because what I found out, to my absolute horror, is that getting sick has affected my skin tone to color. And the reason I knew that was because I did the same thing, and I started to see very different results from it in terms of what my skin looked like and the color tone and everything. And I'll talk more to it. But so this evening, what I'm going to do is to show you how I've started mixing my own foundation and my own um, powders, so that I can keep them more personalized. And what surprised me is how incredibly simple it is to do. How about that one? And it's just like I've always thought it can't be that complex, but it's just like I am really delighted that I took the time to do a lot of research on it, and then get the components together and then try it out and see how it works. So if any of you are on a very tight budget and would like to know how to make your own foundation or make your own setting powder, that's what I'm going to show you this evening. Yeah. And then, of course, the next thing is, if I can do that, then obviously eyeshadows are just, one step away from there. And I can see that within the very short future, I will be not spending a lot of money on makeup at all. But, it's just like needs must, right? All right, so Kimmy's asking whether anybody's been watching the Laurie Daybell trial. Did the verdict come in? I know the verdict was due to come in while we were on the broadcast. Has it come in already? I haven't been watching it. She is guilty. Okay. And she murdered her husband? Is that correct? Poisoned him, or? Thanks for letting us know that, Kimmy. Um, I haven't been watching it closely, but I was aware that it was going on. So, wow, I didn't know she'd killed two. Her kid's husband and the other man's wife. Wow. The things, if I may say this flippantly, the things we do for love, right? That is so scary. So you kill two people in the name of love. Wow. So she fancied the other woman's husband, so she killed the other woman and then also her own husband. I don't know about you, but the boyfriend, he probably will think twice. Well, I shall be in jail for the rest of her life, but do we know what sentence she got? Or is that another day? Wow. Yeah. You're saying what they did. Who is they, Kimmy? Yeah, I want to tell you something. This is like her boyfriend and her brother killed the kids. Ah, please tell me that isn't true. I mean, this is just like, this isn't one person with a screw loose. This is like, you see, my experience, because I donated time to help in the women's prison one time. Um, and what amazed me was, how many times it wasn't just one person. It was just like a whole group of people getting together to create a situation like this. I mean, you to have the brother, the boyfriend's her boyfriend, and the brother do that, and yeah, I agree with you, Jody. I cannot handle this world sometimes, right? Just terrifying. They started an occult. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to do more research onto this. Thanks, Kimmy. I obviously need to do a whole lot more research into this to find out, exactly what was going on. I really appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, I sort of listened to it on the news and knew the name and knew it was going on and the trial was going on, but I really didn't understand the complexity of it all. So what's going to happen to the brother and the husband of the other woman, the boyfriend? And can you just confirm what happened to the children? Because I made an assumption there, but I just want to check. Wow. They had a kill list. Amazing, isn't it? Really amazing. It makes my stomach flu seem so inconsequential suddenly, or the fact one day my camping trip got cancelled. It's just like, really, where do people get off thinking like this? And cults are very dangerous things. We know. And we have seen how dangerous they can be time and time again. And now we're seeing cults brought into political fights and stuff. And it's just like, be very careful. Be very careful. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, as they say. And what scares me is that this actually brings it full circle for me, Kimmy, because this is literally why I'm saying to make sure that you're all so careful. Yeah, I heard about the bag over his head. Did they? I didn't hear whether he died from. Did he die from that, or did they just do it as a momentary thing? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm really sorry. How horrible! That makes me actually almost get stomach flu again. That like, how can you believe that that is the right thing to do? I no. It's just like, I am so horrified. It's not even funny. Wow. Wow. That is really, really amazing. I mean, amazing in the worst possible sense of the word. Oh, well. And Kimmy, just because we don't often get a chance to talk to you as closely as this, How is your health doing? How's the pacemaker going? You got any updates on that one? Wow. I'm not even repeating it, Kimmy, because it's so horrific. I am pretty certain that um, that's not something I want to have on record, quite honestly. I mean, I didn't thank you for letting us know, but yeah, it's just like I'm not repeating this stuff. Don't want to give it legs. Um, yeah, how sad. How incredibly sad. Ugh, horrible. In fact, really, I feel so sickened by this. Um, that I really don't know what to do other than just finish the broadcast because I don't think my mind will be in the same place where it needs to be. Ugh. So, having said that, that's what I'm going to do. For those of you who are interested, as I said, tonight we'll be talking makeup and how to make makeup on a very limited budget. And hopefully that some of you will enjoy that. In the meantime, Kimmy, thank you so much. Okay, so Kimmy's saying that she did have to go back and get a pacemaker adjusted. I'm glad to hear that they've adjusted. Are you feeling any better because of it, Kimmy? No, it's Kimmy. It's I did dodge the comment at as you know, when you started to talk about it at the beginning of the broadcast, I dodged it. But obviously it was really important for you because you brought it up a second time. So that's why I picked up on it. And that was my choice, Kimmy. I could have dodged it twice. I knew it wasn't pleasant. Um, but I didn't realize just how horrible it was. So there we go. All right, everybody. So we will see you this evening. Jody, thank you for being here and looking after us. Unusual for us not to see Jeannie. I hope she's okay. And in the meantime, have a wonderful Saturday afternoon, and we'll see you this evening. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, love you dearly, and bye bye for now.